Well, good evening, gang, and welcome to It's All About Arts. My name is Glenn Williams, and I'm your host, and we're coming to you live from our beautiful studios here at BNN TV, and you're more than welcome to join us. We're at 617-708-3290. You can give us a call if you'd like to join us and let us know what's going on artfully in your life. Julia Perciasepe is out on location tonight, so she's not here with us in the studio. And she'll might be calling in later with a report. I'm not sure. It would be great to hear, but she can join us anytime she wants. I want to thank everybody for last week's show. We had a great, and listen, I hear them. You know what they're doing right now? In a couple of weeks, we have a really amazing, cool show. They're starting, there's going to be an art gallery here at BNN TV, and they're going to have an opening reception just as our show is going on. So we're probably going to maybe sneak out there in a couple of weeks and check out what's going on. So if you hear a little, they're getting ready for that show, there's a lot of excitement and energy going into it. So make sure that you do that. I want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes. Yes, I have gone through another year, and thank you so much for being part of our lives. Janice and I had a great time this past weekend. We went up to Saugus to the Brazilian Cafe. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's a place where there's an enormous salad bar, and you go and they come and shave different kinds of meat off of skewers at your for as long as you can stand it, I guess. And but we ended up spending some great time over there. The fabulous Rebecca and John were with us, and we had a lot of fun. So thank you very much, everybody, for all of your wishes and good things. Listen, you know what we're going to be doing very, very soon? We're going to be, I talk about my school all the time, but I'm going to prep it just a little bit right now by talking about our educational things that are going on. A couple of weeks ago, we had some people from the Boston Arts Academy here who were talking about changing the educational process from STEM to STEAM. And STEM is, of course, it's a kind of like a collaborative way of teaching our scholars these days, making sure that there's part of science, technology, engineering, and math, kind of being part of all of that overall rounded education. But STEAM inserts the arts in there, so it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We're going to be talking with one of the great experts on that. Monica Haldeman is going to be in with us very, very soon to talk all about that. And I just wanted to remind, there it is, see? The brackets are going up. We're very, very excited about it. But it's a great, if you get a chance to look it up, look up and find out what that STEM and STEAM is. Because if you have younger citizens who are going to the public school system, it's kind of the cool way to bring it to them. I mention it now because, of course, everybody's going through standardized testing this week and last, and the MCASs, and everybody's all nervous and kind of shaken out and stuff. But you know, it's only a test, guys. If any of my students are watching out there, it's only a test. That's all it is. And it's a great opportunity and way for you to find out and gear yourself towards some other people in your community. And it's a nice, you know, I know it's nerve-wracking, and I hate it too. So, with that being said, listen, the other thing I want to talk a little bit about is this Thursday, 6:30 to 8:30. You know, BNN TV is celebrating 30 years on the air. It's a huge accomplishment. It's a great festive year that we're having. And the last Thursday of every month, they're going to be featuring somebody who's been working here at BNN as a producer doing different kinds of programming. And this Thursday at 6:30, Tim Casey is going to be the guest. He is the producer, the executive producer of that great show, Transmission Hour. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Transmission Hour. Transmission Hour, I've been trying to get my buddy Tim in here to do a program for a few years now, and finally, you know, we got the right thing. The clouds were in, the stars were aligned, is what I'll say. The stars were aligned, and Timmy got in here and did it. And what it was we literally brought in a 16-track recording studio, and with the beautiful cameras and everything that they already have here at BNN, we did a 5-camera shoot where we hello out there, is everybody okay? We did a 5-camera shoot and actually recorded the bands on 16-track digital recording. Brought it back to Low Budget Records, to one of the salons there, and mastered the whole thing and showed it on BNN. The process is unbelievable, especially the way Timmy got it out so quickly, and it was always, you know, and the quality was always as great as it possibly can be. But the bands that we got to come in here were incredible. Cruiser Mendame, Bird Mancini, the Mr. Kurt Trio, Andy Honger, Thea Hawkins, Terry Kitchen. These bands, these people are big, huge artists in the area. And we'd come in every once a month and we record them here. So it's an opportunity this Thursday at 6:30. Go to the website, bnntv.org, and make sure you get a seat, because it's going to fill up and there's not going to be a lot of room left. Tim's actually going to get up there and talk about how it's done, talk a little bit about the process, and it's a fascinating story. I was very fortunate to be a cameraman for a lot of those shows, and I did some sound, and it was a lot of fun. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Well, they got to do it. They've got to get it hung, but they got to do it during my show. So, because they know more people. No, I'm not going to say that. But that's the story. That's what's coming up very, very soon. So please go to bnntv.org. Speaking of BNN TV, I want to talk a little bit about this fascinating building that we're in. We're right here on Eggleston Square at 3025 Washington Street. And what it is it used to be the power station for the transportation, for the Orange Line. It used to run down Washington Street from Forest Hills to downtown. And BNN, through some great partnership with Urban Edge, bought the building and turned it into 2 state-of-the-art recording television studios and an incredible Timothy Smith lab downstairs. The building is here, and it's not here for just me or just the people you see. It's here for you too. So if you have a nonprofit that you would like to get, you know, your message out and talk to the community a little bit about, and get people to understand what your mission statement is, and bring your guests in here, this is the place you should be doing it. Because people can call in and ask questions live on the air. So this is where you'd like to do that. If you go to www.bnntv.org, this is the place to do it. The other side of BNN is Channel 23, which is what Tim Casey's side. That's where Tim was doing his programming over there. And the great Barbara is running that station over there. And what they do is you become a member. You get to take some great classes in Final Cut Pro, in lighting and sound, how to work these amazing cameras. Also, they teach you how to go out and do some shots outside, do some location shoots, then bring it all back to that great Timothy Smith lab downstairs and edit everything, and they put it on TV. So BNN TV is here for you. This is the place you want to come and get your message out. This is the place you want to come and do television broadcasting. And here it is, www.bnntv.org. And you know what's happening right now, this very minute at that station, is we're streaming live all over the world. I want to say hi to our friends out in Portland, Oregon, and I'd like to say thank you to Joanne and Evan. They sent us an email and sent us a lovely letter from Saratoga Springs, up in New York, way up there. We want to thank them for tuning in. And there's a couple of art associations that actually kind of find out what's going on in the Boston area by tuning in. So thank you very much for being part of our program. We're very, very proud of what we do here. This is an amazing staff here at BNN that makes everything work, and it's a great place to be. The other thing I have to talk about before we get to our fantastic, we have a great photographer and a great artist coming up in just a couple of minutes, so don't go away. But we're very, very fortunate to have a partner that helps us with this program, Boston Main Streets. Boston Main Streets is a nonprofit organization that helps revitalize the business districts around the city, and now all over the country. What they do is they help the business owners, the property owners, people that own the building with no store down front, they help them with demographic information so that they put the right business down there. Once the business is in there, they work with the business owners to make sure that their signage is up right, and make sure that the permitting and all of that stuff, they're not on the sidewalk too much, and that they look pleasing so people can come in and buy their wares. And then there's the promotions committee, which does all kinds of things. The Taste of Jamaica Plain, farmers markets, that great Rosendale Village Main Street's farmers market, they do that. So they bring people down into the business community so people can get a chance to check it out. So we're happy and proud of our affiliation with those cats too. The other two things before we take a break, and we're going to get Pamela up here. One of the things that you can do is you can see this show. People ask me, Glenn, how can I see some of those past shows? They were so interesting. No, we have a station now on YouTube. It's called It's All About Arts 1, and you can go to that station anytime. Tomorrow you can go there, and this show will be up. And if you want to send us a tweet on Twitter, you can also do that by going to It's All About Arts, at It's All About Arts. We'll get a tweet right over to us. There it is right there. Thank you very much, guys in the booth. There's that information. So if you want to get in contact with us, that is the way and how to do it. And of course, you can go to that great website that's run by super producer Janice. It'sallaboutarts.com. Listen, we're going to take a break. It's enough of me rattling on here. Yes, we do miss. We're not going to have Julia's World today because, like I said, Julia Perciasepe is out on location. We miss her, but she'll be back next week. Listen, gang, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Please don't go away. You're watching BNN TV's It's All About Arts. We'll be back in just a minute. Thank you.
Didn't I see you standing over there just the other afternoon? Hidden by shadows, waiting for a man, hidden from the sun. For a man that never comes, like a race that's never run. As the road widens, and it almost always will, you look upon this day. The outlook will broaden as you find it wasn't you, growing from a place with a bright and happy face that are trained to run that race. Answers never heard, feeling so absurd, empty, lost, confused, and blue. Phone calls not returned, lost and so concerned. How to cope? Old friends will pull you like a race that's never run, like a bell that's never rung, like a song that's never sung.
Well, thank you very much for hanging in there with us, gang. I do want to remind everybody that this show will be available on YouTube tomorrow about this time. If you go to YouTube 1, you can see a lot of past shows. There's a show from the 90s up there that I think everybody should see with our flock of seagull haircuts. It's kind of fun to look back through all of those old shows, but boy, I'll tell you, we've had some fascinating and amazing artists and guests on this show, and you know, we have not stopped. Right now, listen, it's my great privilege and honor to introduce you to Pamela Ruby Russel. Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Did you find us okay?
Of course.
Oh, I'm just saying, you never know. I have people that go to the old building when they're supposed to be here.
I knew the old building.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's good. That's good. You're a photographer.
I am.
Now, I like to ask this question. This is kind of help yourself. One of the things I like to ask artists, and especially people that work in different kinds of genres and different kinds of styles and what have you. If you were producing a website and you had a pull-down menu and you had to put the kind of photography you are. If there was a kind of art that you're doing or a kind of photography you're doing, what would you have to choose?
I'd call it fine art.
Okay.
I also do, excuse me.
That's okay.
I also do portraits, I do landscapes.
Photography.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I find that I carry a camera everywhere.
I always ask that. Do you have a point and shoot with you all the time?
I have 2 cameras with me, actually. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you seek out subjects or do they fall into your lap?
It happens always. I mean, people will ask me to photograph them. Excuse me.
That's all right.
People will ask me to photograph them, or I could be just walking along and see something that grabs me. And I've been known to photograph a bug for 2 hours because he spoke to me,
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So.
How long have you been doing this? Speaking of shutterbugging.
Yeah, right. I first got a camera when I was, I was about 16. And then just kind of got addicted and met various photographers over the years.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. I got mentored by an incredibly inspiring, brilliant photographer named Myron Ehrenberg in the early 70s. I'm dating myself. Hi.
That's
anyway,
so cool.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
That's right.
He was president of the American Society of Magazine Photographers for a while, and he was really brilliant. I mean, he was the first photographer, the Cafe Society in New York City. He was the regular photographer, and that was the first interracial club in the United States.
Really?
Yes.
Where was this again?
Cafe Society in New York.
In New York?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And he was the photographer, so he photographed everybody.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that's nice inspiration.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
Do you prefer people or places?
I don't prefer anything. I just, whatever
happens,
whatever moves me. I mean, I've been told, I've done portfolio reviews, where they get a whole bunch of photographers in a room and all these sort of better photographers or whatever, artists.
I do. I know what you mean.
And they judge your work and they look at it and everything. And I found that everybody has different tastes, so whatever moves me.
That's good.
I've been told, well, you should focus. You've got to work on just make a subject and make a group of photos and make it a
make it a series or make some kind of yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sort of I just photograph what moves me.
Yeah. Well, if you were taking pictures when you were 16 in the 80s, then obviously you went from the digital into the digital age.
I miss Tri-X.
Do you?
Oh God,
do you?
I love Tri-X film. And I loved Ektachrome because I love the colors.
Did you do any black and white developing yourself?
I did.
Yeah. You had a darkroom someplace?
I didn't have a darkroom, but I was dating a fellow who was an architectural student, and he built a darkroom in his apartment on Jerome Avenue in the Bronx.
Well,
in the Bronx.
So you're a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker. I was born in Manhattan.
I have to say this. I am one of probably the biggest Beatle fans in my life, and I don't know if I've ever sat this close to someone who was at Shea Stadium when the Beatles played.
Touch me.
Oh, caramba.
I did. I sat in the front row. of the press box in the center.
Oh my
And these
God.
guys threw me over the barricade, and these cops came running after me, and I've never told...
That was you?
That was me!
I'm gonna have to take it to show my friends, because all my pals are Beatle fans too.
I can't believe I'm telling the story to
That's
the
all right.
world.
That's all right.
I loved it, though. I was listening to an interview with, I think it was Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
And she was talking to David Letterman, it was. And he said, so what was the best thing that ever happened to you? And she said, I saw the Beatles at Shea Stadium. And I was like, I was there. I was there.
It was yeah. I wasn't.
Anyway.
But it's great to meet somebody that was. Okay, back to the photography. Going from that, are you still shooting analog?
No.
No.
Actually, somebody just offered me some film.
Yeah.
And I do have my old Nikon FE.
You do.
So I've thought about it, but I'm too, I like the instant.
Yeah,
know.
is it a different kind of photography though? I mean,
It's like listening to records.
yeah,
instead
compared
of
to
CDs.
CDs. Is it?
There's a warmth, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think you also have to be more involved in the picture, in the photograph when
Right.
you're working with analog, because there's that light is it.
Yeah.
You know, and the famous story of Ansel Adams waiting and waiting and waiting for that light to be perfect before you can get that shot isn't true today.
No.
I mean, you can blank, blah, 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 and then pick the fourth one in.
Right.
Is the one that got the right expression or
Yeah.
something. Does that take away, do you think, a little bit from, I'm going to call it the fun?
Well, it's interesting because I have a collection of slides. I've shot in slide film for a lot. I've lost most of my negatives, but I have slide film. And every once in a while, I'll pull it out and I'll start looking at them.
Yeah.
You know, and I just kind of go, oh, I remember when I shot that. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember, because you don't shoot like dun 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 dun. You crop in the camera and you find your picture and you find your, you find that moment when it says, take me.
Yeah.
And you shoot it. And if you got it or you didn't get it.
Right.
But yeah,
Because you can't take 24 or 36 exposures of the
No.
same thing. You couldn't afford
No.
it. It was just
No.
crazy. Yeah. What are you shooting with today?
well, I was shooting with a Nikon, and I've switched. I'm sorry. I got a Fuji
Okay.
XE2, and I'm right now trying to get the XT1.
You like it?
I love the Fuji.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
what
well,
feels
it's
good in your
light.
hand. Yeah,
you know
it's
what
what
it
feels
is?
good.
I'm not a 200-pound guy
No, you're not.
or a 185-pound guy.
No.
Or so my neck can't handle. It's just, I carry too big a purse. What can I say?
With your Rolleiflex in it, just in case.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. We've got some pictures to take a look at. Why don't we take a look at some?
Wonderful.
That'd be great. Right up on this screen. Why don't you tell us what we're looking at?
Oh, we're listening. We're listening. We're looking at a photo called "His Afternoon Soiree," and this guy was hanging out on our porch, and he just kind of sat there, and I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and then I said, "Okay," and I pulled out my camera and I started shooting, and it was amazing because he felt so. What is it called when you anthropomorphize something? When you see it as a
I'm
human?
a bass player. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's the only big word I know. But he just seemed so.
At ease and
At
peace.
ease.
Because I can tell you what he looks like. He looks like he's at ease, and he looks like he's working with you.
He was just hanging.
Okay, next.
This shot I just took, and I call this at water's edge, or at the water's edge. And it just put me in a dream. I loved it. It's in Plymouth.
It's beautiful.
And I just felt like the sky and the sea. I mean, sometimes the water's like glass and you get a perfect reflection.
Yep.
But what's nice about this is it's not a perfect reflection, it's a dream.
Well, this is the ocean too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love the ocean.
Yeah. Now this is not the Caribbean.
Is that water up front?
That is water.
Wow.
I got down, well, I can't get down because the camera's on me, but I got down right at the water's edge and I shot across the water, and it was in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but it was it was in Provincetown. That's Cape Cod Bay, and I've never been able to get that shot again.
Are you looking back at Boston, or are you looking out to the
I'm
ocean?
looking off. If you were to look closely to the photo, you see Truro.
Oh, okay, I know where
You
you're
can
looking.
see it's so that's why, somebody said to me, some digital camera person who will remain nameless, said, well, you should straighten the horizon. And I said, why? That's a beach over there.
The
And
horizon's not straight.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know that guy.
Yeah.
He's got a New England Patriots hat on.
Yeah. He's a sweetie. That's His Holiness, the High Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And this was, he spoke at Gillette Stadium.
Yep.
And I was told there were about 4,000 people there. And my husband and I went to hear him speak. And I was lucky to get a seat kind of close. And then I went, no, this is too far away. So I just got up and I sat right in front of him on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And Bob Kraft was sitting sort of in back of me. I know. But
Bob's a good guy.
he's a wonderful guy. And I just started taking pictures of him, and it was really cool. I'll tell you a really quick story. I
Yep.
don't know how much time I have. But he was talking about why bad things happen to good people. And I've had a few knocks in my life. So I really kind of got involved in what he was saying. And it was as quiet as can be. You could hear a pin drop. And he got into it. And all of a sudden, I looked at him, and I started laughing. I burst out laughing. One of those moments where you
Yeah.
want to crawl in the hole in the ground and just disappear. But for some reason, what he was saying, it just got me, And I started laughing, and he looked at me. He stopped talking,
Oh, great. Thanks.
and he said, enough of this. Enough of this. He said, what the most important thing really is friends
Ah,
and being happy.
yeah,
And he just gave me a smile.
that's beautiful.
So, yeah.
All right, we've got time for a couple more.
Okay, this is my dog's son. This is Dudley, and I wish all of you to send good wishes to him because he has cancer.
You
So,
said this is your dog's son.
this is my dog's son.
Okay. You were.
He's my child.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, and his is Dudley. So
And he's got
everybody
cancer?
send
Okay,
love
yes.
to Dudley.
Okay. Dudley will be fine.
Yeah.
I know her too.
Yes. This was at a rally.
Did you laugh at her too?
Hell no. This was a rally in Boston that was held at the Hancock Auditorium, and the TV stations didn't cover it. There was no mention of it on the news.
Great.
So I'm really glad I took the picture. I call it her yellow jacket.
Yes. That's great. And this last one here.
This is called Lost Boot, and this was something that was put together by Carlos Arredondo.
This was an installation, yeah.
Yes, the man with the hat from Boston Marathon.
He's a good friend of mine from Rosendale,
He's
He's a
wonderful.
sweetheart, isn't he?
He's a
Something. His
doll.
wife is great too. And the two dogs, he has the dogs he brings around with
Yeah.
him, right? Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've known him for a while. I used to
Poor
live in
man
his
lost
makeup
his son.
place.
It was very sad.
Yeah. But this was an installation that he had put together, and it really moved me. It was so strange because these people are walking around, and there's this one boot,
Yep.
So.
The work is beautiful. Where can people
Thank
go
you.
to see it?
My website is under construction right now. It will be www.Pamela Ruby Russell Photos. And if you can't remember that, it'll also be PamelaRussellPhotos.com.
Well, what we're going to do is we'll link it up to the website here
And
next to your name.
I have an about.me page, which has a whole bunch of links and things.
That's
so.
very good. Are you doing any shows?
I have been. Right
Are you
now,
hanging any place now?
I have some things up, yes, out where I live. out towards
It's okay
Norfolk.
to say where you live.
I live in Norfolk,
Norfolk.
Massachusetts,
And she is the vice president of Norfolk, Norfolk
NCTV board.
NCTV. So
Yeah.
you are very familiar with the things that we do. We have like things.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to get involved and
It is.
support your neighborhood cable
Oh,
channel.
no question about it. It's the people's voice.
Yeah, so speak out.
Yes. Pamela, thank you so much for
That's
being
great.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Your work is lovely, and we will
you.
keep in touch for sure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, listen, gang, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away. You are watching BNN TV's It's All About Arts. My name is Glenn Williams. We're coming to you live from Studio B, and you're more than welcome to join us. We're at 617-708-3290. Dave and the great staff of BNN are in the other room answering the phones. Listen, we're only halfway done. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with our next guest. Do not go away. Thank you. Well, welcome back, gang. Thanks an awful lot for hanging in there with us. And I do want to remind you, I do want to tell you, this is very, very important, that Pamela's work is at Cobwebs in Jamaica Plain, right on Center Street. If you go back, you know where Cobwebs is. It's right there in the business district there. Drop in, please, because you know, the images here on the screen are one thing, but seeing them live and in living color, I'm going to steal that phrase if I may, is a really cool thing to do. So Cobwebs on Center Street in Jamaica Plain, they often have a lot of Pamela's work up there. So go there, check it out. And right now, it's my great, great pleasure to introduce you to Matt Brackett. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Great to be here.
Thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure having you here. I'm going to ask you the same lead-off question that I kind of ask everybody. If you're doing a website and there was a drag-down menu and you had to kind of categorize yourself as an artist, besides great, okay, what kind of artist could you moniker yourself with?
So I basically have been describing myself as I'm a painter.
Yeah.
And I'm a painter of work that tells stories, so it's
Okay.
narrative.
Okay.
And it's figurative and usually has some kind of character in it, either people and now more currently animal-based work.
Right. Have you done any illustrations for books and stuff like that? Is that
No, I
something?
haven't.
No. Just that I see that as a direction.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, this is gallery work, and it's but it is work that suggests stories. But they're all open-ended.
Right.
And
What's your medium?
It's primarily oil painting. Yeah.
Oil painting on canvas is, boy, that's a chore. It's a great, it's beautiful, beautiful. I do acrylics and I'm an abstract painter.
Yeah.
And just because I need that instant gratification, I just need it to
Yeah.
be done now. Even watercolors take too long for me.
There's ways to get around both ways, but it takes some patience.
Once you get into a character, is it okay to say?
For the subject of the painting?
Yeah. Does the subject of the painting, is it fair to call them characters? Are they? If there's a story, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I basically attack the idea through sketchbooks, and I use a kind of an automatic drawing technique that generates these images, and those sketchbooks form the location where the wells from where these images come from. So they are they originate in areas that are, that can be kind of inexplicable and perplexing and hopefully raising questions.
Sounds exciting, is what it sounds like. Are you able to work on several pieces at a time working in oils? I mean, there's a lot of standing time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time for setting.
I always want to be better at my studio practice. I'm always unsatisfied how I actually do it. But yeah, I mean, there's usually a bunch of things going on. Now I'm trying to kind of be in between drawing and painting, and my work tends to have a great deal of background work before the actual.
Well, so there's a scaffolding thing going on. There's steps to the wall.
Yeah. So there's a lot of image generation. There's a little bit of computer work sometimes. There's a lot of studies, and then moving on to a final painting.
Are you painting full time?
Yes.
So you get up in the morning, you go into the studio, and you get to work.
I try to, yeah.
See, because I asked the question, I mean, is it inspirational driven, or is it, because I got nothing to do Thursday afternoon, I'm going to go finish up that one that I started.
Well, it pretty much has to be. It has to be a job, I came from out of school. I went right into carpentry, and I was working at that full time, and then after that part time. It was a pretty progressive company to allow me to do that. But when I moved away from that, I did take on kind of keeping hours and trying to be pretty diligent about being a craftsperson.
Right. Do you have a dedicated space, or are you working at the kitchen table?
I do. I have a studio.
The reason I ask is, do you set the atmosphere for yourself? I mean, is talking heads on the phonograph, or is the windows open, or do you set?
When I really have to think and generate, I usually can't have anything going on.
Okay.
When I'm just producing, usually I go with books on tape. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
I can take that
surprising.
in, and I can sit there and kind of crank
Does
out.
one ever infiltrate to the other?
But it's interesting because sometimes I'll look at some of my old images and I'll see corners and sections, and I'll be like, oh, that was that section in that story.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a strange mapping that goes.
Don't mention any of the books, because we don't want anyone thinking they've inspired you into doing this.
No, yeah.
That's good. Well, I know that we've got a body of work to look at, so why don't we get right to that? And as we go through them, tell us what we're looking at.
All
Okay,
right, we can fly through these.
Okay,
pretty
let's
good.
see what we got.
So I think the first one, so we're starting with in the middle. So this is a body of work that that's currently on display at the Danforth Museum in Framingham, and it's a body of work that's called Dark Animal, and it kind of originated from a period of dark personal and national mood a few years back. I was coming out of a series of figurative work, of people-based work that ended, and at the same time I was showing that work, I had the birth of my first daughter.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I now have two, but it was actually a difficult period, or turned into a difficult period, because I realized that as I took on the role of being a father and kind of more of a stay-at-home father that was giving a lot of home support and extra support compared to my salaried wife, I had a lot of what turned out to be kind of shame-giving feelings of feeling like I wished I could be more in the studio and making more time, because I had compressed studio time. And while at the same time that I was, just in love with my new daughter and loving being part of her new life, I had these really twisted feelings of feeling that I was having a hard time adapting. And so
you're an artist. You're someone who creates. It's not a faucet you can turn on and off. So I totally understand that with a daughter. Never mind two daughters.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a taboo for parents, right? And particularly creative parents, I think. So these images that were coming out of my subconscious and they come into my sketchbooks, they were dark and they were images that I was unprepared for, and I didn't want them. And so this body of work took a long time to mature and come out, and because I was kind of resisting it. But after a while, I started letting them come forth.
Thank you for sharing that. People don't get to see the emotional end of it, or how life itself does affect creative people. That's where we get it from.
So these images kept on coming forth. They are located in the coastal landscape that I find very kind of emotionally charged, and I find a lot of solace. It's related to my family history.
Yep.
If
we could just maybe we should fly through some of these.
I think this one is, I'm going to be talking about basically how I had to teach myself how to make these. So I wanted to have my paintings continue to be kind of naturalistic looking and real looking, but I didn't know, these are all invented images, and I didn't know how to make an image that looked like sheep jumping off a cliff. So I
was hoping this wasn't from a photograph.
I reverted back to a lot of techniques that have actually been around for a while from the old masters of building maquettes and models. So we'll see if I have those images here. So I made little wire armatures and
cool.
Sculpted them out of Sculpey. We can go to the next one. And made these tiny little sheep and made an actual model, which is what was common to do for painters that were dealing with kind of imaginative realism.
Wow.
And I learned about this technique from...
Are you a sculptor as well?
I'm not, but it was a lot of fun so we can kind of cycle through these. I had to learn about lighting and a little bit more about photography and kind of studio photography, and we can move forward, and I set up these images. And what I discovered that while I could play with the actual model in front of me and the light, and if we move forward a few more, I could make studies, this is a painting, of potential compositions and lightings for the mood that I wanted.
That's fascinating. I've never thought of it that way.
So if we move forward one more, you'll get a very different idea of what the scene could have looked like with a completely different light situation. This is also a painting.
In this scene, they make it.
Yes. Well, there's obviously different moods, and yet the narrative is still open and has to be kind of constructed by the viewer. So I think if we move forward, So then I did a bunch more model making. You can fly through. This was a head I had to sculpt to get the more detail for the individual sheep in the image, that I could get that painting detail for.
That's great.
And then the final images that you might see on the screen. So I was talking about how the initial impetus for this body of work was the shock of coming into young fatherhood, and it actually turned out that I had, not to bring a bit of a downer to the show, but I actually got a cancer diagnosis a few years back that turned rather serious, from stage 1 to stage 4, colon cancer. And the strange thing is about my work that happens over and over is I'll be working on an image, and my work is semi-autobiographical. It's often very personal. I was working on this image of this kind of self-devouring snake. If you go one forward, you can see a detail, I believe. And that's when I got the diagnosis of colon cancer, of this kind of...
If we could go to the next slide. There you go.
Yeah, so the self-devouring serpent became kind of a shocking imagery when I had that diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it was very amazing to have that happen. And as I discovered that as this work was coming forth, we can keep going, I guess, through these images, that, well, this one's not coming up. And that
Well,
was-
we come back.
that the work itself, the work of it coming through, actually proved a kind of a catharsis for many of these difficult feelings that were behind the work.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: well, how you feeling?
I'm doing good.
Good. Okay.
So there was a plan of treatment. I've been treated, and I'm in remission.
That's excellent. Okay. Besides that, obviously your work is extremely personal.
Yeah.
It's very close to your chest and to your heart. When it comes time to put that out there,
Yep.
when it finally goes through the stages, I mean, when you paint, you're pretty serious about it.
Yeah.
There's many stages of it, and you've lived with this,
Right.
literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
You've lived with what you've created, and it's time for the wall. It's time to make it to the wall. Is that difficult for you?
I mean, I think the work lives a different life for me in my studio and in my sketchbooks, and then when it moves out into the public life, it has to take on a different life. It is important, perhaps, that people know where the work came from, but inevitably it has to be, it lives on by itself.
Are there narratives with the pieces when they're hanging in the museum? I mean, are they all
There's a
museum pieces?
statement-
Can someone buy a piece?
Yes.
So that snake disappears. That's a huge part
Yeah.
of Matt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you still have your sketches, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, we have what we, these images didn't take, 2 days to do. They took a long
of course not,
time.
especially
So
with
I've, in a way, when you move through them, you have all the background information, all the background work, and you create the image. The image is the last fragment of it,
Right.
kind of.
Is it therapeutic?
It turned out to be, and it has in the past, and it was again. So this work is, it's been amazing to have this body of work out and to share it with supporters and the public.
It does. Thank you.
And yeah, and it's wonderful to share it on this show and with you. And then moving on, it's been interesting to see what happens in the later work. So I'm.
Do you ever break out a canvas and say, I'm just going to paint this sunset? Just going to relax.
Yeah, sometimes.
And just paint this, or paint my daughter playing in the tub or something.
Yes, I do.
Just to do it.
Yeah, again, it lives differently for me, and it lives differently. If it does exist outside of the studio or the home, my home,
Right.
then it would be different.
I think I'm trying to get the question I'm asking is it always a emotional wrench, or is it always
I think
that dark period? I can see it being so.
Yeah.
You
And so the work now is a reaction to that. And I didn't want to kind of stew in those emotions anymore.
Right,
and I'm in a much different place. I'm a happy father. I'm a balanced creator. And
You've got your body back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And basically that is why the new body of work is about gratitude and about kind of light. So it's still personal, but it's it's less wrenching. This was a particularly kind of charged period for the creative.
Is that the work that's at the museum?
No, so the dark animal work is at the museum, and that's
Where can someone go to see where that dark image, where that soul brought you?
yeah. Well, it's at the Danforth Museum of Art, which is now called Danforth Danforth Art.
Which is a great room, you know.
It's a great museum. It's a wonderful museum, and actually there's 7 concurrent shows. Mine is my first museum solo show.
That's huge.
It is huge. It's
not fluff over that part.
Yeah.
It's pretty huge.
That's pretty nice. And the show is up till May 18th, and their website is danforthart.org, and viewers can see more of my work at mattbrackett.com. MattBrackett.
That's great. Has it always been oils?
Yeah, mostly.
Mostly?
There is some drawing with this body of work that's been creeping in, and I've been doing a little bit more of that recently.
When it's cold out, do you still open the window? Or do you have a ventilating system?
Oh, for the oils?
I've tried to paint with oils, and it's just...
You can paint pretty cleanly with it. Yeah.
I'm doing it wrong then.
I had an instructor that nearly went a little bit mad when he was doing landscape painting in an enclosed van.
No.
And he had this respirator, and he was like peeking out the window. And this was terrorist attack type stuff.
Oh, yeah, great. He had to change the way he does things. Matt, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in and not only sharing your beautiful work, but sharing yourself too. I mean, it's important.
Thanks.
It's important because we have a lot of students that watch this show in the college areas around. It kind of shows a lot out there. And I get a lot of response where people want to know how the artists got to where they are and stuff. And you went right there. And it's a brave thing to do. And thank you. And please feel free to come back and we'll go through some more slides.
I'd love to.
Where are you? Where's your gallery?
So I have a studio that's in Hyde Park, and then I show in Boston.
You're a local dude. Okay, good.
I show in Boston at Alpha Gallery.
Alpha Gallery? Oh, yeah. We'll get you back in here.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, gang. Listen, I do want to mention a couple of things one more time. Thank you to our great supporter, Boston Main Streets. We thank and love them very much for all the work that they do. And I do want to remind everybody that on April 7th is the big, you heard all the banging and all the screws and all the people falling off the ladders and stuff. The United South End artists are going to be showing here at B&N TV. We've turned a small part of this beautiful building into an art gallery. And we're going to fill it up with some beautiful art from different communities. And we're going to have openings and receptions on Monday nights during this program. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a step out into the fray and kind of grab a couple of people to come in and talk a little bit about what the United South End artists are going to be. So listen, gang, remember this Thursday, Tim Casey's going to be here 6:30 to 8:30. He's going to be doing a screening and a talk about his Transmission Hour, very, very successful award-winning Transmission Hour program. He'll be here answering questions and showing you how it is done. That's this Thursday, celebrating B&N TV's 30th anniversary. And with that being said, listen, gang, thanks an awful lot for being here with us. Get out there and do something artful for yourself, please. Get out and do something. And also, please, keep in the forefront of your minds our mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews on foreign soil. Please, keep them in the forefront of your mind when you get out there and do something artful. Pick up a brush, please. Hey, we'll dig in next week, okay? Bye-bye.